Hello, everybody. Welcome to June's session of Bouncyrock's bi-monthly banter. We have two doggos this time around with us, uh, Hades and
This guy
Northern.
probably won't be staying very long. Says he is very active right now, so he's going to run away in a few minutes.
Yep.
But while he's behaving, we'll keep him. All
So,
right. Yeah.
we'll be here for some updates on what we've been doing the past few months, possibly some updates on what we'll be doing the next few months, and we'll show some stuff off, and then we'll dive into our Q&A, which will probably last. We'll probably try to stream until about 5 p.m. my time, so about an hour to an hour and a half ish at max. And so there will be a cutoff. Keep an eye on the question bot. Again, preface any questions with exclamation point Q in chat, and they will get picked up by that, and we'll dive into those later.
Go ahead. Okay. Let's see now. I'm going to do a quick update on what's been happening on the site. We've been doing Bug Month. That's what's been going on. It's been, we're really happy with the result. Got like, what was it, like eight patches out this month. Not counting the asset pack as well, which is fantastic. Which I'll let Jason talk more about. Yeah, what's been going on? So, like, obviously, we got the seats out in that time. Pavel has now taken a week of holiday, well deserved, so that's great. And we've been crunching away on some different. Well, it actually hasn't been crunching. It's been pretty easy this month, which has been nice. Yeah, just hitting loads of things that you guys have reported, which has been grand. It's really satisfying to take off some of the little things that would sometimes slip through, and then some of the things that have just been like repeated occurrences, like the shadow bug that we fixed the other day. That thing keeps creeping back in different forms. So I'm glad to squash another one of those. And yeah, so that's a lot of myself. The kind of that side of things compacted down. I've been helped a lot by Chair, obviously, who's been taking care of things on the report side from you folks, and then also just helping out with smaller bugs and yeah, like testing some of the trickier ones. That hide volume one was really sneaky and took quite a bit of back and forth before we had that one cornered. So that was grand. And I just noticed I have lost my Twitch chat, so I will catch up with you folks in a second. I'm going to get that back along with the question doodah because I'm not seeing that right now, but I will retrieve that. And yes, let's see what else. I think that's a lot of it. Obviously, Panda's been handling everything on the socials, and we have a little update from Rhea as well, Rhea and Hannah, who are doing well. They're still on the kind of paternity leave, but Rhea is floating around a bit more these days, and I have something to show from him soon as well. So yeah, we'll do that. But before then, I'm going to hand over to Jason for the art update, and yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so we released the and the kitchen sink pack. That was basically just a bunch of community requested assets that we've collected over, the past months, and it seems people are like, digging some of that stuff. I know cliff faces were, you guys were working with one cliff face for a long time. So hopefully these new ones that are a little more, they've got a little, different shape to them. So you guys can probably build out, some more things and maybe, some cave entrances, etc., those kinds of stuff. On top of that, yeah, with the kitchen set and everything. So, now that we got that out, we're kind of going back to the mega sector. So, and you'll be seeing some screenshots of some of the work in progress stuff on that. It's coming along really nicely. I'm hoping to get that out within a month, hopefully sooner. There's just some things I want to test with, some lights and things like that, emissive maps and stuff that I want to kind of like have it, all the beep boops and everything that, would come along with something like that. So we'll see how that goes. And from there, after the release of the mega sector, we're going to be kind of hitting it hard on the Kickstarter rewards to kind of catch up with those and get those out as well. So, look out for that stuff. There's some really cool stuff from some of the backers. They have some really neat ideas that we'll be working on, and that would include, miniatures, heroes, monsters, some tile sets, etc. So that's kind of what we're going to be tackling next, and that's that's about it for the update for now.
Nice. Excellent. Can I, this is a little impromptu, Doggo wants to get back in the house. I'm going to let him back in. I will be back in like 30, 40 seconds. I just
Okay.
don't want to be stuck outside.
Gotta take care of dogs, people. So I am seeing a handful of questions coming in already, some of which just got answered with the little update about tackling some of the Kickstarter art goals. So please do not be surprised if we don't take the those questions out of the queue. And I do already see some repeat questions like within the same session. So again, apologies. We will only be asking
We
one
are a
set of
professional
those.
outfit.
So with that, with the package back, let's continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, yeah, from Marie and Hannah. Actually, Jace, with your stuff that you've been working on recently, should we show up the?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because we've got some work in progress from the mega sector.
Yeah, so here you can see that this is going to have all of the diagonals. It's going to have the tower set. It's going to have, including the tower stairs, etc. I still need to do some work on the diagonal floors. I haven't really started those. And here are some. At the moment, these are some experimental kind of prop pieces that we're looking to kind of play around with. As you can see, they're kind of large, and essentially they would act as veneers that you can just kind of stick on any wall and anywhere that you would that you want, really, to kind of help further decorate the area. As you noticed, the tile set itself is pretty low key as far as details, and we kind of I wanted to keep it that way, and in hopes that you could use stuff like this to kind of further customize it to your liking. Yeah, so we're gonna do some testing in game and see how that goes, and I'm thinking it's gonna go well, and we'll go from there. We'll see how it goes. As you can see, none of these things really include the aforementioned lights that I was talking about. So I'm going to be working more on, like, if this is successful and this works out, I'm going to kind of lean into this right here and do more with lights and missive maps and everything, and make it look really neat, kind of that space punk vibe,
Yeah, and something arty but also different is what Ree's been kind of cooking on in the background to slowly bring himself back in. So this is very work in progress, as it says, but this is the start of a kind of Shogun set. So we're seeing some nice new roof designs coming in here.
That roof,
which you can
man,
tile really well together. Yeah, like this is before the sculpting, so this is just the prototype, but you can see what kind of effects you're going to be able to get there.
Yeah.
This is the more detailed sculpt work. You'll see, like, with some of the rope kind of details coming in here. So this kind of functionality with the better look. Again, these are much more kind of almost finished sculpting. There's some still things here, work in progress, and you can see blockouts and some sketches down here, which I could navigate around to at some point. Whoa,
beautiful work.
So yeah, as
always from Johnny.
Yeah, as always, yeah.
And that roof, man, is going to be used. I could see that roof being used in a lot of cyberpunk builds, etc. There's going to be
right.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. So yeah, that's kind of a surprise set right there.
Yeah,
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, we saw your votes on the request site. Thank you so much. It really does help us prioritize things. Sometimes, obviously, we get a bee in our bonnet and like, yes, we've got to build this particular thing, and that's what we're driven to do. But absolutely, we're looking at your stuff all the time to work out. As you saw from the recent pack, that was shipped. So that is grand. I'll just put Tailspire back up here for now. Those pictures I'll put into the Discord, so you can catch them later. I'll put them into media channel or something like this. But then, other than that, I think we are. Yeah, on my side at least, good to go for questions. Do any of you chaps want to add anything before we kick off?
Nothing I can think of.
Nope. Then let's begin.
All right, let's go in with the Q&A. And our very first question that came in today was from Lucian V Ghost. who asks, any thoughts about introducing rope props that work in a similar way to the rulers? Instead of static angles, being able to pick 2 points to mark the end of a rope, cable, or chain.
Not beyond going, that'd be cool. And then starting to think about like physics implementations, because that's where my head goes first. And some kind of like, because stable ropes are an interesting challenge in games in general. So yeah, again, very preliminary thoughts, but not whether it would actually make into the game or not. Just like, I guess, similar to you, like that would be nice to have, right? But yeah, we'll see.
Wayfork Woodworks asks, how have you felt about the reception of Seats? For me, it's been a game changer to expose others to Tailspire. Keep up the great work.
Cheers. I've I think it's fair to say we're kind of disappointed we didn't get the messaging right. Like there are splits in no matter what you do, you're building something specific, and when you build something specific, it's going to be for some people, it's not going to be for other people. So there are a whole bunch of negative reviews, which to me make perfect sense. Right? Like this is not what they wanted, and they're saying this is not what I wanted, and that's fine. It's the cock-ups I'm really disappointed in, like because we built something specific and then have not communicated it properly, or at least as well as we could, and we're just kind of taking a mea culpa on that and just going, all right, well, we've got to do better. We've got to look at the messaging again and just try and work it out, because it's clear that, and that is not to say the people who are voting negatively are confused or anything. A lot of them are. It's just not what they want, and that's fine. But we should have done a better job for the people who were like, I've seen some cases where it's like, you're making the GMs pay for everything, which we're not trying to do. We're trying to make sure it's spread out, and things like that where you go, actually, we've just done a really bad job of telling you what this thing is. And like, yeah. So that's probably the cliff notes of how I feel about it. It's yeah. Little disappointing, but it's been good to hear good things as well.
Jake Eckes asks, subboards. I know they're probably a ways off, but any news?
No, I've not been thinking about subboards as much right now, because it feels like what we really need to get to is stuff for handling vision, kind of in the fog of war kind of side of things, and the dice system, and more interesting. We have like 80%, I think, 70-80% of the new emotes, the new persistent emotes like poison and stuff like that. We've got some cool stuff sitting there, which I mentioned before is bit rotted a little, but it could be resurrected. I'm really looking forward to finding out what state that's in and how soon we can get that out. Now Johnny's a bit more available. Like we're able to chat back and forth on that stuff a little. So so I think subboards will have to wait a little. It's one of those ones. It's just so cool, and I really want it, and it's going to make for some amazing shots, and some really cool encounter kind of stuff. But there's also some challenges around control systems and stuff like this, which we'll be able to tackle. It's just take a bit of time, but we need to get a little better on at least the more of the automation. So yeah, that's my thoughts right now.
Dylan Type X asks, is there potential for emissive and opacity channels in our textures for transparency and lights on our modded minis?
Emissive, definitely yes. Transparency, less likely. Transparency is always is a tricky one. And so I won't make any promises about that yet. But the kind of, if we've done it with a mini in game, we should be able to expose that down the line. I hope I'm not like just, there might be someone might be just like shouting at the TV, no, but yeah, I think that should be feasible. But emissive is something we've done with the Hero Forge stuff. There's some small emissive things in there, so we could definitely bring that. Yep.
Fiddlin asks, could you share anything with us about the character creator? Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're welcome. And that is very much Ree's domain. That's why it's been on pause since they started maternity leave. We've got a terrible bus factor at this company. Like everyone is great at stuff, and we have small overlaps of skill set, but people tend to be really good at certain things and not replaceable by other people. Ree has built multiple of these kind of systems before, and so he is the perfect person to be doing this, which means I don't have any new thoughts, unfortunately. I'm looking forward to him being back on it, because I think it's going to be really neat.
Jake Eckes asks, terrain tools, also probably a ways off, but also any news?
The main news, I suppose, is like the ideas we have for how we wanted to tackle it haven't changed. So while this is definitely like a myself and kind of project in terms of building the terrain engine, that's going to be a very tightly coupled project, because like the two the art and the what am I saying, the sculpting kind of sits, for lack of a better word, set up in there, are very intertwined. So yeah, not new thoughts and not news, unfortunately. That's the thing. Like we have, let's see here. Like we're a team of 8 people with 4 full time, and 2 of those full time people have not been here for the last kind of going on 9 months. So as you can imagine, like some things have just been kind of on hiatus, and we're really proud with what we managed to ship. Like everything from, I think we did board folders and like slab uploads and all kinds of stuff like in this time, all the way through to modding and that kind of stuff. So I'm happy with what we've done, but yeah, we've felt the gap. But luckily, we're, again, like I've mentioned in the previous stream, we're in a country that really supports this kind of stuff, so it hasn't hurt the company in any way other than things have just been on pause. But yeah, so I would love to tell you more things on the terrain, but I don't have anything new right now.
Eurosash asks, where do you see custom dice on the roadmap?
Custom dice? That's a good question. It's really going to depend how the dice system shakes out in what I'm doing now. Yeah, I don't think I can answer that. Like once the dice system is shipped, come back to me with that question, because it's a really good one, and I'm at that kind of thing. Like I feel very confident about what we're about to build, but I feel that about a lot of things I built, and they've turned out to be more complicated. So yeah, we'll see as that shakes out what if I misunderstood something. But then it could be not too intimidating.
Dylan Type X is back and asks, is it possible to export TS mod packages above the 60k vertice limit? I don't plan on releasing all of my mods publicly, and I have some models that are just plain impossible to get decimated down to that level of QA for public release, but I have no problem with using in my own group.
That's a really good question. I mean, technically, yes, of course. We could like remove that restriction. It's very much there because like we hold ourselves to, as you've seen, a very low poly count, and like we're trying to kind of like guess on what are we going to be able to optimize to give people a reasonable experience. Of course, you're saying that this doesn't affect you, but then how do we handle that in terms of communicating that, this mini, if someone puts it on a public repository, for example, we can't stop them doing that. But if they put it there, how do we inform people? And I can't see how we can do that, because you kind of want like a warning. This guy's heavy. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's reasonable. Make sure there's a feature request for it, because we'll have to cook our brains over that one a little and just see what comes out. But theoretically, we could do it, of course. That's true. A lot of things.
Dylan Type X asks, with tags and categories for modded minis in the pipeline, would it be possible to create our own that aren't on the BR curated list for locally installed minis?
Tags and categories, absolutely. The tagging system supports custom tags. We have like that, like you said, that blessed list that we've been talking about. That's kind of our one that we pushing up to kind of mod.io and things like that. And something we make sure we can kind of get fairly uniform results about. But yeah, we're going to need that. So yep, we can do that.
We went over this.
The category thing's going to be interesting.
We went over this next one a little bit earlier, but there is some more clarification in it. When do you, that guy Baldrix asks, when do you guys plan on delivering some of the Kickstarter rewards, exclusive hero pack and dice set, and the non-in-game rewards, like the digital soundtrack and wallpaper?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the hero. Okay, so this work will start being done as far as the minis, like the hero pack, that's going to be start getting done after the mega sector. We're going to start working on that kind of stuff. The dice set, I can't speak to. The soundtrack, I'm looking into some options, and Panda presented one not too long ago where it's like you can just upload a soundtrack to Steam and then keep adding music to it. It's not like it's a one and done, which is great. And that's kind of what I wanted, because the soundtrack for this is going to be ongoing until, probably post 1.0, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where I'm just going to continuously upload music to it. So that being said, the soundtrack, with that, we're going to do some testing, and if that is the case and we can do that and everything's cool, look for that, possibly before the fall, because like it'd be good just to get some music in there, and if I can just continuously upload, then that means I can upload some exclusive tracks for just for the backers and things like that, for people who bought the soundtrack. So and as far as the wallpaper, that's a re-question. I think Johnny would probably want to work on that.
Yeah, I've heard chats about that recently.
Okay.
So we've got some interesting ideas on, like, again, want to make sure we're producing the right kind of backgrounds for different devices, kind of what's like looking at what's commonly done, and also looking at what content, like, do we want to have, like, find some really cool artists to do something in that kind of space with different styles and things that we would pull out. It's there's some cool questions that's like not in my place to kind of like, I don't have the answers on that yet, but I was happy to hear them. So yeah, it's evolving, the situation on that one. We don't want to just kind of like, slap a couple of mini pictures on
screenshots
background and ship it. Yeah, right. Like, exactly. That would be a little cheap. So
DWiz7, here's a good question, I think, asks, if dev time, complexity, etc. was equal to implement any single feature, so in other words, we lived in a land of make-believe, what feature would you choose to add to Tailspire?
Right now, I like, if dev time complexity was equal, I'm gonna go for the optimistic case where it's equal and very small. So rather than making all the simple jobs really, really long, in that case, at the moment, it would be 3D Fog of War, because it's not been done. I want to see what 3D Fog of War looks like done, like finished, because I mechanically I have solid ideas of where it's going. I've still got some kind of questions around data compression and stuff like this rattling around, making sure that's gonna like make sense, because we have to host this stuff forever. Yeah, I would love to see that damn thing finished. It's tough.
What about for you, Jason?
So yeah, not the most exciting answer, but definitely where my head is at.
I look, I'm not a dev, but Chris, Fog of War would be, would be awesome. And for that answer, 100%.
Yeah. What would be like your dream like asset pack?
Oh man, I don't know. Like a dwarven tile, like a really nice dwarven tile set. That played very well with the terrain system. So so that you could build like the front of it, the entrance to Erebor, and it just all kind of gels. That would be really, really cool.
Yeah. I think my dream feature would be the dice system. As someone who frequently DMs in Tailspire,
right?
It's probably one of the bigger things that I would make quick use of.
Yeah.
Dream just for a few more months and see what we can do. Actually, I'm not saying how many months. I'm not going to myself, because that's just a curse every time I do that. It's a nightmare. No, but yeah, let's do a little more.
Nocturnal Wish asks, I'm sure I read the answer somewhere before, but I forgot the answer, and the question occurred to me again as I work on a river. Will we ever get fluid physics for water and stuff?
I don't think we go the fluid physics route. It's like, because like just there's part of my brain that when I hear fluid physics, I'm thinking like erosion, deposition, all that kind of stuff, and like flowing water, just like you put water and it flows into cracks and stuff like that, like something between like a full-on like terrain sim kind of environment sim kind of thing, and then like Minecraft on a different area of it. I don't think we'd do that because I don't know that gives you the tools for controlling things in a story time fashion. Also, it's expensive. We've got to make sure we can run. Like the goal is to be able to run Tailspire on something in the direction of Potato, if not all the way. So yeah, that becomes a potentially expensive system to run, especially like with the size of our with our worlds. But I'm really interested in the idea of like being able to do things like drop a bunch of boulders, physics sim quickly to work out where they go, and then be able to have like a scrubber so you can play that backwards and forwards. So you can use that in a turn-based kind of mechanic kind of thing. That's like a dream. I have not got that on the roadmap because it's dope, but like that's not what people are asking for, and I need to build the things that make Tailspire. But man, I'd love to play some things with that. And then could you do that with water? I don't know. So no, I would say short term or medium term even no. But there's some things that haven't been done in that kind of thing space before, I don't think. Or I haven't seen that, and that would be kind of fun to play.
Mimics and Misfits asks, is there an official stance on using Tailspire screenshots in published modules?
There is, and I can't remember what it is. We have some information on that, and it's not coming into my head right now. But we can ask in the Discord, and we will get back to you with the official line because we've dealt with this stuff before, and there's just like there's a very simplistic line on this, but I'm simpler, so I don't know.
Yeah, don't quote me. I believe that if it's free, if it's like a pay what you will model, it's okay. I can't. Yeah, but definitely reach out so we can. Yeah,
we can give you the official stance.
Yeah,
but we're pretty lax on this stuff. Pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
Dylan Type X asks, is it possible to separate the metallic, ambient, occlusion, and reflective channels for Tailweaver into different image textures? I'm finding the TGA file format to be pretty heavy, and I feel like having that ability could help me optimize my mods better.
So separating them into different textures to like drop them in, absolutely. One of the next things I wanted to do. I was about to say one of the next things I want to do on Tailweaver is let you go and just drop any old texture in, and then you say which channels you, rather than dropping the texture into what its job is, you drop a texture in and then say what its channels are. So we're like, oh, it's the metallic is in R of this one, and the like the occlusion is in G of this one, blah blah blah. And then we just pull that out for you and repack it because we have to pack it in our own format anyway. So like, why not? But the reason I would say it's not the next thing is we need to add support for tagging, and then we should probably do something with upload to repositories as well, so we can. So yeah, I've got to work out some details on the actual final file format for the tags. Well, not just me, Chair and I have to do that. So yeah, not next, but yes, interesting. So yeah, we can do that. Definitely something we'll be looking into. I'm not sure what that means in terms of help optimize my mods better. If you want to expand on like how that would help you with like, I'm assuming file size optimization, I would love to hear that because it's very interesting.
Hypno Twist asks, will we ever be able to look up, not in a free camera way, as I know that's not a possibility, but simply a little more flexibility in the tool we have right
now? I don't know. Actually, I've very much like a lot of the kind of control system has been very much in Ree's hands, so I wouldn't want to kind of speculate on what he's thinking for the next iteration of those. But yeah, like I'm very sure there's a feature request for that, so it will come up in the discussions again. I'm just going to check something. I'm just something distracting in the background here. Okay, that's right.
Good.
I'm back. Yep, all good.
That guy Baldrix asks, does the Bouncyrock team regularly use Tailspire to build and play in actual games outside of work? And what are you playing?
Well, obviously, Panda does.
I stream a regular game, semi-regular. It's, adult time whenever we can actually get people together. But I stream most Thursdays. I do D&D 5e, and we're running Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which is an official 5e module. And we've been at it for over 5 years now, so it's been a blast. We started in like pre-alpha with Tailspire, and our streaming setup grew with the tool. So yeah, I play in it pretty frequently.
Yeah, and anytime we've played, yes, absolutely. We always use Tailspire when we play any kind of like RPGs or anything like that. And recently, I've been using it to kind of prototype some physical board game stuff I've been working on in my spare time. So yeah, I mean it's really cool, man. It's a really useful. I don't want to call it a tool because Ree will kill me. So
Yeah.
it's really useful for this kind of stuff. It's really neat, and it's just outside the bounds of playing Dungeons and Dragons or war games or anything like that. You can use it for all kinds of neat things, and it does. If you need to just kind of get into that space and what it would feel like to like hold physical miniatures and just kind of get an idea on anything that you'd be working on, even in a physical realm, it's like, ooh, you can kind of prototype and test in this, and it's really neat. Yeah, so long answer. Short answer is yes.
I'm going to divert for 1 second. I will answer that. I just saw Dylan Type X talking about making rivers with kind of textures and things like that. Absolutely, that's not a problem. We have plans for rivers and things. Like, we have solid ideas how we do that with the terrain system. But that's slightly different than the question, which I'm sure you know already. But yes, the difference between like making rivers, not a big problem. Simulating water flow over complex, like over the terrain and things like this, is a slightly different beast. So I just wanted to clarify that one. And yeah, I haven't been playing, and we will be fixing that. We're looking to set up because we've had some internal games in the past, but we need to start doing that regularly again. So we're trying to kick that off relatively soon. So that'll be a kind of Sundays, if we can make it, kind of jobby, and just it'll be cool. Actually, Jason, you were playing some more wargamey kind of stuff a little while back, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Been playing with helping test out Z's new system that he's working on, Larry Moore, which is really cool. That's the most recent. And yeah, just doing some other things, that like I said, some just kind of like personal stuff that I've been working on, but inspired by like wargaming and things like that. I'd love to get in and play some old world, because like Warhammer just released Warhammer the Old World. I'd love to get in there and just play some of that to see how it is. I know that like the rank and file and the rank and flank, it is possible with creature selection and multi-select, which is awesome. But it would be neat, and I'm sorry guys, I'm just going on a little rant here. It would be neat to kind of like form a rank and rank and file unit, and then just kind of like lock it somehow. That would be really interesting and really cool. That's, I guess, my little community request to Chris.
Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm just like, oh, actually, because we have, when you do group movement stuff, we're like, running kind of collision routines for all these separate ones, so we can kind of bend them around and reform shapes and things like this. But we could make that more static. I don't know how we'd expose that option wise, but it is interesting. Yeah, it would be really cool for that. And Jason's another one. I've heard requests from you for adjustable base sizes and things like this. I'm not 100% against it, of course. We're like, it's got to fit with what we're doing. But like bases, the needs of the community have evolved while we've had bases, and there is going to be like moddable bases anyway. That's coming down the line regardless. So things are going to change there. But like sizing, I know Jason's been another person that's been asking for that, because obviously bases have meanings in wargaming specifically as well as like kind of RPG games. So yes, that was a protracted kind of answer, but yeah, there you go.
So I did throw this one up earlier because I thought you were going a different direction when you brought up Dylan Type X again. He did come back and clarify you assumed right about the file optimization in regards to separating the more textures into different images.
I don't know why that's me. So the thing is, we take those textures and we re-encode them anyway into our own format and our own layout. So I don't know. I might just be like drawing a blank here because it is a little bit late on a Friday, but I don't know why that would make things smaller. But do let me know, and another time I'll be very interested. Maybe in technical chat back in the Discord. Just hit me up.
Dylan the Cripple asks, can we get a hotkey to pan the camera angle up or down?
I mean, if that's an action, because that's all tied to Zoom right now, isn't it? Focus point and Zoom. So that's not separated. So I can't just give you a hotkey for that. But if we'll just have to see how the control scheme evolves, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Dylan Type X asks, is it possible to get more mini sizes or to be able to have a feature of defining our own on the table? I run Lancer and OGLD 20 games and use my boards for both, but I scaled them for having bigatures for mech combat. More sizes could help with stuff like this or other scenarios like fighting Tarrasques.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things we had this discussion like when the Hero Forge stuff was first coming in, because it was possible to scale things in ways that made for really big minis. And the problem is when you start, and this is an us problem, not a you problem. You're asking for the right things. It's that when things get really big, the way these creatures interact with the terrain, with the tiles and things, it doesn't feel as good. And it's like, okay, we haven't built a control scheme here that's good enough at handling big stuff. So that's kind of why we haven't just kind of unlocked that a bit more. I could see us adding another notch or two. I wouldn't. I'm not going to speculate right now on that kind of stuff because it has implications. But yeah, we are going to have to tackle so basically you'll be able to really hit us a lot harder with that question once we've done subboards, because to do subboards we are going to have to handle the control of very large objects moving around the world. So at that point, there'll be less ability for us to say, hey, we're not quite as sure how we want to do big things yet. But yeah, I feel it. I especially want it actually as well because I'm seeing how people are scaling things in modding to try and get the sizes they want, which is unfortunate because then it covers up the ring in the base, which is something we want to use for features. And yeah, it's a real shame. It's just our ideas have obviously not lined up with needs, and so that's it's an interesting one.
Brock's crew asks, I think you guys talked about this last time too, but any updates and or time frame on when weather effects will come into the game, even if it's just the basics to start. Keep up the good work. Just started a new campaign, second time DMing, a few weeks ago in Tailspire.
Woohoo.
Oh, awesome. No specific update on the weather right now. It's one of those things I don't know. Like, you could download a weather system, like a Unity asset or something, throw it in there and get something, and I don't like that. And it's not something we can support. Then when we transition to something better, so I don't know exactly how to handle that other than just bite the whole thing and just say, okay, we're making our particle system and then we're doing the things, and that's a multi-discipline kind of thing. Building VFX is a skill in it of itself. You can be great at sculpting, great at texturing, great at like all these different things, and suck at VFX. So it's one of those things that we're building up skills internally. Maybe we need to like work with people on the outside as well, so we can like build up like practices and things like this. We'll see. But yeah, it's not something we can just kind of like, hey, if we had a particle system tomorrow, would we have VFX the next day? Nope. So yeah, it's annoying. I wish I could get something because I want to do like wind system, moving trees, all that kind of stuff that Johnny was prototyping before. It's sick. And it's just like,
lightning, rain, wind. Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, right?
Just seriously.
And then there's the weather system, and then there's the effect system where, like, as a GM, you can click and say lightning here and get lightning there and stuff like that. That's gonna be, yeah. We want it to. It's just we're having to, especially with us on kind of a lower team size right now. We're just chugging away, and we will build. But we got to get that dice system in. We've got to get the other thing that my brain's now farting on. But yeah, we'll be getting stuff in, and we'll work towards it. Sorry that so many of these answers are like, yeah, but we will get there. But we will. We're solid. Like, we're not going anywhere. So we will turtle, like tortoise turtle. Whatever the little story is, we'll get there.
JAO7SJ asks, is there any way to get reflective items, like glass and ice, to render properly when farther away in distant fog or vertical fog? They tend to highlight in a strange way, but this might change how older boards look.
I think that like regarding the compatibility, I think that's okay because like we will change how things look if it's a bug, right? Like so if it's not meant if it's interacting with fog incorrectly, like we definitely have some ones with for example, if you turn on the flashlight thing, the top down one, and it interacts with the focus point, you can see a square outline where the lighting's not interacting with it properly. That's a bug. We need to fix that. If things aren't looking right at distance with vertical fog, then we've probably got a problem there. We'll have to look into what that is. And yeah, so that would have subtle changes in other places, but there should be a way. And if there is, we'll get on it. I'm sure someone's reported that. But if they haven't.
Hypno Twist and Lucian V Ghost both ask, can we please have an option to hide mini bases to add static NPCs to the world and even statues?
See, that's interesting because okay, so hiding mini bases for that reason is very cool. Yeah, like beyond like we have prop to creature, like creature to prop kind of thing. There's really something there. At that point, it wouldn't behave like a creature anymore. It would be, like you say, for statues. But like statues would like, I get into my head of like, do we want a visual differentiation there? Static MP, I don't. Okay, so why would you? You'll have to answer this in the chat. What is the advantage of having an NPC be static rather than just not picking them up again? Like once you've placed a bunch of commoners, is it the fact that the bases are just taking up too much space in your kind of crowded markets, things like that? Do let me know because I'm very interested in that. So when it comes to, I'm sure once we add base modding, someone's going to make it as an invisible base, and so then everyone will be able to have things that like, yeah, aren't standing on bases. We're not doing that in a hurry because again, I still think we want to extract some gameplay mechanics out of the base, but we'll have to tackle that because yeah, there's going to be modding. Yeah, do feed more info for that one. That's great.
Gone Splitters asks, what are you most excited to work on now that seats are released?
Probably dice. We like that. It's funny because there's excited kind of stuff like right now, and it's kind of like need almost more than excitement. I just there are some things about it I really want to do. I like the idea of having a proper language behind the dice systems rather than just the macro system. So then that can pass down because that suits my nerdy compiler head, and that's fun for me. But yeah, that's definitely top of my list right now. Yes, yeah, I think that's probably it. It would be really cool to do subboards. It'd be really fun to get into terrain. But yeah, I think that's it.
That guy Baldrix asks, are there any plans to support other third-party paid minis and assets similar to how Hero Forge works?
Yes. Plans. I mean, like, yeah, we're open to it. And if we were talking to people and we're allowed to talk, and we would let you know or not let you know, depending on what people have said. I think you might have seen that, like, if you're in the alpha for the color stuff of Titanspire, they were talking today about how they're exporting OBJ files. Titancraft, sorry. I'm an idiot. I've done this to myself. We set up a we've chatted to those folks in the past because they're lovely, and you can set like names of chat rooms, and I named it Titanspire, and now I've broken my brain. But yeah, Titancraft. Like they were put out a thing in their alpha today saying, "Hey, we're exporting OBJs and textures, and you could do stuff in Tailspire with that," and that was really cool to see. So yeah, big love to those folks, and yeah, we will tell you more when we can tell you more.
Coming back to Lucian v Ghost, they have the example for their minis as props. A setting where a city has been petrified, so statues of minis are around that can be cured and made to move again.
So yeah, that's a classic. Like to me, that's creature to prop, 100%. So then the creature just is a prop, and then you can just turn it back to how it was. I mean, we don't actually have that as a like right now with prop to creature, do we? We don't have a way of turning it back again.
We do not.
That should probably be done. Okay, feature request for that.
Okay. Dylan the Cripple asks, will there be an upgrade path from purchasing a seat in the guest version to a full version of the game at a discount?
I don't think so, because like the guest isn't the person. You're not. This is when the messaging is a bit difficult, right? Like you're not buying kind of a reduced copy for that person. You're buying a place that you move around between campaigns that anyone can use. So there isn't a real kind of path that makes sense there. And the person who's coming in doesn't doesn't buy that seat and doesn't own that seat. So there's no way for them to convert that into a full copy of the game. So there isn't a path for that makes sense in the model that we've done. And again, this is just our apologies for not making what we're actually doing clear enough. So otherwise that would be a little bit clearer. So to the answer, short version, no, because it doesn't fit, because it doesn't make sense in the model.
JA07SJ asks, are there any plans to add farther sticky anchors to existing props? Like some pipes Modern have them, but then there are fences in Construct Modern that you still have to manually align.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, 100%. I have to go through a bunch of the props and make sure that they have them. So I'm gonna be doing that. But if you have anything, if you have any like examples, please reach out to me and just tag me on Tailspire mod or wherever, Tailspire anywhere in the Discord channel. Just if you noticed any particular ones, just feel free to tag me, because I got to go in there and I got to make sure that everybody has anchor points that should.
Yeah, and Chair, if you're in the chat, if you know which requests, like which reports on the feedback site are pertaining to this, and you can throw them towards Jason. That
Yeah.
Just extra work for you on a Friday evening. Don't do it now. Okay.
We do have some more clarifying questions from HypnoTwist about the hidden mini bases. You can add a lot more NPCs in crowded areas and no name tags for everything. Also, not being able to blast them in the face, especially statues. Last thing is kind of pushing it, but modders would be able to make minis mint for being turned into a prop, like a group of mice next to garbage, for example. I see it as a very wanted thing for me if it's easy, like prop to mini, but if it's a lot of work, then it's okay.
I want to add to that with Mimics and Misfits actually said, for me, some of the creatures work really well as part of a fixture, but keeping the base means if I accidentally touch it, it moves all around the stuff I built around it. So yeah, I mean, I could totally see that if you made like a merchant tent and he was surrounded by things, and you accidentally touch that, and suddenly he's on top of the tent, because of the physics and everything like that. It would be. I agree with that. I agree with that. That would be cool.
Yeah. Go for it. Oh yeah, get him in.
I just saw another bit in the chat where Brock's crew had mentioned if I want, for example, a wolf statue, the players can't see that unless they are in the same room/area as the mini or statue. If they are a mini,
right,
which is sometimes not optimal.
Smart. Yeah, that's that use case. These use cases need to be written down because they're all fascinating. And so here's our kind of rule when it comes to, when we're looking at this, if we're making something because another system is shit, then that's the wrong way to fix it, right? Like, so if it's like, oh, I grabbed this, so actually, Jason, to your point, like if you grab it and it flies on top of something else.
Yep.
And like the first thing we need to look at is like, okay, why is it doing that? Like, can we fix that? Because that's a bad behavior in a number of situations. And if we can tackle that, then that's good. So some of these in here, like no name tags, that's a phenomenal one. I literally, again, this has probably come up in chat and I've just missed it in the Discord. That's a really, really interesting case of like, okay, we're showing all these names. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean like that when you go into the view where you can see names, that you need ways to filter names? Do you just want to see names of unique creatures, for example? Are there ways of hinting that these minis are actually important and these ones aren't? Things like that. We should look at that from like first principles and then work up. And the answer may be exactly what you want, which is just turn it into a prop, but maybe not. So yeah, that's the kind of thing. All these requests we just have to go back and work through to get to
true.
whichever conclusion makes sense. But yeah, for like statues, right? Like why not? And the prop thing, and the answer to why not might be a reason, but I don't know what that reason is yet, and that's what we need to have a look at. Yeah, the creature to prop thing is interesting. And yeah, for statues, like you say, there's interactions with the vision system, which are that's a problem. Like that's something we like. If that's how you want to use them, do we make? Yeah, if that's the best way to make that statue, cool. Then we need to support that. But we need to think about that. Yeah, that's rad. Thank you so much. That's really insightful.
Okay. Hollow Fox asks, would we be able to get more statuses via Tailweaver, also known as auras in the modding community before Tailweaver was a thing? And if so, would there be an update UI for an expanded options for it?
To get more statuses via Tailweaver in the future. If so, we'll be able to take it. It's the Tailweaver bit that's throwing me. What's the statuses in this case? I confess, my brain has been on bug month. I haven't got Tailweaver in my head. I haven't got Tailspire in my head. I've got Tailweaver in my head right now. What were the statuses in this case?
So, if I recall correctly, so they say it used to be auras in the modding community called them auras before we had Tailweaver. I believe they were things like a ring of fire around the mini and stuff like that, like actual different, like basically additions to the mini.
Okay. Well, we're doing the persistent emotes for various kind of things like poison and blinded and things like this. So there's a combination of kind of visual things and then icons, kind of classic RPG style. So those need to be. That's something I want to see where we're at. And so in that case, didn't use their aura system, so I'm not sure. I saw from Hollow Fox talking about the VFX for shields. Yeah, you guys have done a whole bunch of stuff, which is really dope. But yeah, I don't have a direct answer for this one.
Mimics and Misfits asks, are there any plans for a wood version of the Mega Dungeon or a wall angular rotation feature?
I mean, okay, so we are going to be expanding upon the current set. So when we visit the rural set, which is kind of wooden, yeah, I mean that will probably see some diagonal walls, etc. And it kind of does make sense maybe for like the towers and things like that, since so yeah, keep an eye out for that. Like I said, we will be, after the Kickstarter stuff is done, we're probably going to be diving back into filling out the current sets with the diagonals and towers. Before that, though, we do need another pass, and Chris can talk about that, to make things feel a little better to work with. That's kind of like for now, the mega sector and the mega dungeon are kind of experimental. And obviously we want to expand what we can, but for anybody who's built with the diagonals and the tower stuff, it does feel kind of wonky, a little awkward. So we kind of want to tighten that up a bit.
And yeah, I mean, just on that, like yeah, to agree with what Jason's saying, like the building needs to be improved, and before we can like go everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Jabber Adder asks, do you ever plan to add the ability to flip upside down or mirror tiles, assets, and props?
Okay, so mirror, no, because normal maps and things like, okay, that's not 100% answer, but like mirroring, no. Rotation, like for tiles, there as is. Props, we've looked into some stuff. We're not satisfied with the results yet. We're not ruling that out entirely. Yeah, we'll look into things. Assets, what would assets be outside of tiles and props in this case? Then no for the creatures.
Melody Vidi Logo asks, would it be possible to lower the minimum graphics quality or some kind of a light version / mod for lower end computers? I have players who would love to use Tailspire, but can't since their PC just burns one top to woo.
Yeah, that is a problem. I don't know. I don't know. As far as lowering things, I'm not too sure about that. But like getting it to run better on lower end machines absolutely is a job. Yeah, it's so funny. I keep on thinking about what would you like to be working on like most next, and every time I look at a performance thing, it's performance. I've got a ThinkPad around here which has an integrated GPU, and it runs poorly, and I know why, and I could fix it, and we could get that at least up to a reasonable thing because it is like again like your friends, it's just kind of sizzling. So yeah, that would be really nice. So yeah, I'm hoping it's not going to require reducing the quality anymore. I assume you've already done the thing where you're saying that you're like the game. What's the setting called? Let me just check. I want to name it correctly. So under the graphics settings, you have the ability on scene scaling, and you can set like the 3D scene to be rendered at like 3/4, a half, or a quarter of your screen resolution. So yeah, like depending on what device they're running, you can run it a lower res. I use that on the M1 Mac because otherwise it's just not running particularly well, which is something I don't like. I hope that helps.
Dylan Type X asks, X Tiles win?
Last. I don't know, but after everything else, and I honestly. I know, like, because there's in the FAQ about this, and I'm like, yeah, I've left the possibility of like handling hexes. I do not know how I would do that right now, but who knows? Who knows? I don't hold out for it. That's what I'd say. That will be the last.
Then they ask, if hex tiles are a long way off or impossible, is it possible to have the ruler snap to angles and distances to support supplemental hex movement / grids?
Fascinating. Ooh, with that, like, so my thing in my head there is like, does that even, because like you could imagine a hex grid, like not you specifically, but we could imagine like projecting a hex grid down on top of a normal Tailspire terrain. But would that line up with features that made any sense? Like we wouldn't want to make it like just sucky hex grid, because then you shouldn't be using Tailspire. You should be using like a thing that does hex well, because you deserve the right tools for your stories. But yeah, ruler snapping stuff, that's honestly haven't considered it. Don't know what that would entail. And yeah, I would have to see what that would look like in game. Fascinating question.
JA07SJ asks, this is a very roundabout question, but is there any way to export Tailspire boards / slabs into some kind of 3D printable format? I'd like to make real physical prints of some of my models.
The problem with doing stuff from game assets is that we take these lovely high poly sculpts that Jason and co do, and then we bake them down into things that look like they have all the detail using normal maps and things like this, which is it's basically we just like make the shadows look like there's lots of detail there where there isn't, lots of texture or less textures to get kind of smooth edges, and it's all smoke and mirrors. So if you get the meshes of these things, they're a lot lower poly than you'd think. I may have extracted a fat cat from Final Fantasy XIV, for example. You print out, and he's a little triangular boy, and all the kind of smoothness and roundness comes from the maps they're putting on there. So no, but also if we were to do that, it wouldn't give the results that we'd be happy with. So no and no, unfortunately. Double no. Just what everyone's doing.
Tabletop RPG Music asks, any plans for audio mods?
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, that's I haven't given it enough kind of thought, because like wouldn't be hard. Like, and we've got a place for like putting those mods now, which means we could sync them down easily enough. We need to expand on the music player, because the music player has been woefully neglected. And so Jason and I have like ideas of how to make that fun. And man, there's so many. It's really cool working on Tailspire. There's so much cool stuff we could be doing, and we are purely limited by like how much we can get done. Just as a human in a given day. But yeah, no, like audio mods definitely feasible. I cannot think of a reason right now why we wouldn't have them.
Melody Vidi Logo asks, if some modded creatures or assets look real great, would you be willing / reach out to integrate them directly into the game with modder agreement in the official asset list?
That's an interesting one. I think we'd want to actually commission that person to do work, because they would like deserve like remuneration for kind of building awesome stuff. Because if they've created something for the community, it's already there, it's available. But what we can do is like support that person. That's a fascinating idea. But yeah,
I mean, honestly, if I'd keep them up my sleeve, and if we ever release like a storefront or anything like that, for a community where you can sell assets or anything like that, if that ever, maybe.
So they should keep hold of it, and then like if we were to add a storefront to let the community sell stuff, right. I mean that's another thing potentially down the line as well,
Absolutely, yeah.
There are ways and means. It's kind of tricky. Like you don't want to add more money into a space than you can, because money's just divisive.
But
also people are building really cool stuff, and they deserve, like, artists need to get paid. So who knows? Tell us what you want, and we'll take it all into consideration as always.
JA07SJ asks, I believe there was a feature for grouping tiles together to work as a single prop, like kit bashing a vehicle together out of shapes. Was that considered a subboard or a separate feature? And is it something that's still far out from development? I'd love to be able to move ships around more easily.
So ships are subboards because we want to be able to get a whole bunch of stuff. That's the subboard thing. But we did talk about, I can't remember what we were calling it at the time, but there was the idea of like, because there's loads of places where you build like a car and you just want to have a whole bunch of those, and we could do things with that for performance reasons and all kinds of stuff. So we could have a lot of those if they're kind of frozen. It's a fiddly one, because you don't want your abstraction to be leaky. You don't want to like, you have to do it like this has to be tiny because of these reasons which aren't related to gameplay, really. I don't know. It's a tough one. Yes, we're thinking about that. It's not gone. It hasn't been thought about recently because, like I say, a lot of things that we just haven't revisited because we know we can't tackle them yet. But yeah.
Vaughn Davies asks, would it be possible to add rulers that lock onto players for spells, such as Halo of Spores?
100% we want to do that. That's on the list already.
And that's our last question.
Jesus.
We are out of questions on our list today. So nice, quick day. Is there anything else that you guys would like to?
Yeah, please. Like we're around. Like throw them out. Like while we're still here for a few minutes, and then we will head off.
Immediately, we have one come in from Dylan Type X. Would you hire me?
We're not hiring right now, but if you'd like to send your portfolio through and things like this, that would be the way we can assess these things. Send them through to Bouncyrock. It's actually, do we have? What would be the best one? Contact at Bouncyrock, probably, isn't it? Do we have that? Is that a real email address, or am I just sending things into the void? Yeah, that would be awful. Yeah. We'll find it. We'll find an email address, or just send it to me, and I'll make sure it gets to the team. We've had a bunch of people reach out about that kind of stuff. We keep them on file. We're not looking to expand because we want to make sure that like the resources you guys have provided us goes as far as possible, and so we're just trying to make sure we are stable and we're not burning money, and we're just kind of like we are here to stay and build because there's a lot of cool things to do. So yeah,
we got.
I guess we got Lucian the Ghost.
Lucian V. Ghost asks, any more thoughts on point-to-point ropes?
That was actually early on in the stream. So if you, I don't think, was that you that asked it in the first place? I can't remember. But I haven't had any more during the stream because my brain has been 100% on the questions as they're rolling in. I am empty of thought.
Dylan the
Dylan.
Cripple asks, is there any way to convert multiple props selected at once into a single miniature? This would kind of be our subboards feature, unless you have something else in mind.
Yeah, but like miniature implies like creature, and we haven't had any thoughts of like kit bashing creatures outside of building modded minis. Right now, we only allow you to pull in one mesh, but there's no reason we couldn't have multiple meshes. We would just then bake them into one when we're doing the export. So I don't think it's high up on the list because like what's being achieved right now. Actually, that's tricky because like you can just do that mesh baking in the modeling tool that you've already got because they have to be used anyway. And then you can, with that, you can remove unnecessary geometry as well. So you haven't got this like stuff inside. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Before we continue on with the questions, I am just going to give a warning. I hear a thunderstorm brewing outside, so if things suddenly drop, I apologize.
Okay. Yeah, I had one of those earlier.
Right.
So JAO7SJ asks, are there any UI overhauls planned for consolidating some options and features? It's a little cumbersome right now for new builders to figure out where tiles are in the library. And then the things like making your own assets is in a separate community mods folder. So you're spending a lot of time swapping between menus.
Totally. Yeah, one of the things Johnny's really concerned on is not in a bad way, is like driven on, is like developing, putting like design guidelines down into something that the team can reference more, so we can be a bit more cohesive on that. I am very guilty of like, okay, I've got a feature, I've got to put it somewhere, and I will take an icon that we've already got rather because I can't make graphics. Like so, there's a lot of ugly stuff, and we need to get back to what we had when we were smaller in terms of like feel and stuff like this. So yeah, we got a lot of work to do in that on that front as well. UIs are a pain. UI systems, especially Unity's UI system, is just their new one is, and their old one is like so often a performance problem that you have to make all your own controls for things. And I'm just going to get onto a gripe if I get on to stay on there for too long. But yeah, let's see. What was the actual question? UI overhauls. No, go back for a second. I was just having a look.
Sorry,
Just
it is
making
gone.
sure that's all right. Right. Then if I missed anything, sorry, and we'll chat about it another time. But you know where I am. I'm around the Discord a lot.
HypnoTwist asks, any possibility to lock players from editing the height render meter, the green one? You might know some reasons, but why? But some reasons why. But can that be elaborated?
Do we not allow locking on? Like, can the GM not lock to a pin?
The GM can lock their own meter, but they cannot make players lock a meter. They can say, click the pin to go here, but then they can't make the players stay there.
That's really useful. Yeah, I forgot that was an issue. Don't know why I got that one into my head. That there needs to be something to help control that. We know that we wanted to do and this might have been held off because we want to do like player experience right now is similar to GM experience. You're kind of detached from your creatures, and we definitely want to make the player experience more focused around where you are, a little more, I want to say like limited but controlled, like a little bit more intentionally a player experience. And so it might be that would come with that, but I feel like this might also be something we could do separately. And this is how features just get thrown in without having good UI stories. But yeah, that sounds like it should be there, and I want to go and find out why it's not.
Just add a second lock and
just
make
more
that
buttons.
The player one.
Yeah, we'll add a bell.
Yeah.
Okay, our next question is from Mimics and Misfits, and they say, just want to say thank you to the Bouncyrock team. Tailspire has been an absolute joy to play with and show people. It really brings games to life in ways that feel special, especially with Hero Forge integration, seeing your character roaming around. Plus the question,
that's
more of a statement.
That's really nice.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah. That's really
so awesome to say. It's really cool to have. I'm happy that it translates for other people too. When we play Tailspire, it feels really neat, and it certainly feels like the closest thing that we have felt or played with, that just being with friends and being around a table, and it's really awesome And it's really cool that you guys are feeling the same thing, because that's what we've been trying to build. So it's really cool to hear that. Thank you.
We'll keep doing it.
Forge of Lore asks, "What's the coolest thing you've built in Tailspire in making a map? Not as a dev."
Okay. Oh wow. Oh geez. Oh man, I like building small things, but recently I've been building this like giant keep, just a personal project that I might throw at, like, throw the Bouncyrock team into one of these days. And it's got everything. It's almost, I don't want to. I'm not a Stalery, but it's almost like an Stalery build, where it's just got all these nooks and crannies and everything like that. And it's an orc keep, but it's I kind of wanted to build what I see or felt like that I saw in my head whenever I watched that old I don't know if anybody in the chat has ever watched the old Dragon Strike VHS video. You can see it on YouTube. Just look up Dragon Strike VHS. And when they go into the castle or the keep, when I was young, I was 15 when that was released, and I've always like really enjoyed that. And I was like, I want to build my own kind of keep like that. And I started doing that in Tailspire not too long ago, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. It's just one of those kind of ongoing projects that I, will pick up every other weekend or something like that if I have time. And that's kind of like my current coolest thing I've built.
Mine would probably be the one of the obstacle course level for Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Most of my builds lately have been levels of Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I've been doing mega dungeon levels for years now, and the obstacle course has probably been my favorite piece of work. Although I can see one of the upcoming levels of Van Rack Doom quickly taking its place. The addition of the mega dungeon has definitely made making those places a lot easier, and rather nice.
Cool. And I've got a goofy double answer. So generally anything that looks like I want it to look like I make programmer art when I'm not doing stuff in Tailspire. Like it looks rough. When I go into Tailspire, I can get tiles that are chunky enough that I can do things with them. And it's like, yeah, that looks like a room. And that's, to me, is like delightful. That makes me so happy because there are like the mega builders out there, but if I can cobble a room together, I'm stoked. And that said, now we've got the we've had it for a while, but the slab integration, the fact I can jump in and just grab the kind of stuff that you folks are making. And I was kit bashing an island the other day, and it was so quick. It was just like island bits and this like rock formation, and it was like a couple of things like, wait a second, this doesn't suck at all, and this is like, that made me feel great. And so thank you. Cool. Yeah, the builder community rule. And I know there's folks out there who are using Tailspire just to build, not even for playing, and you folks are awesome as well. And we care about what you're doing. So make your voices heard because we like to build for you too.
To make sure that we get through the rest of the questions in the time that we have, I'm now going to go ahead and close the question bot because we did get a flood of questions in. So we're going to go ahead and close that up right now, but we will still be here answering what is left in the queue.
Speed round.
Going to the Cripple asks, can we get ramps?
Do we not have any ramps? Maybe.
I mean, we have a ramp. We have a ramp in the industrial set, but yeah, I know. Like that's the only kind of ramp that we get, and also it's a ramp that goes like I think at like 45 degrees or something like that. It's it's a steep ramp. Interesting. Yeah. Ramps would be cool that like have a better kind of gradual gradient.
More wheelchairs.
They'd have to be larger. They'd have to be larger, something like a 4-tile ramp or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Got to be ADA compliant sets.
Hell yeah! Oh, that.
Yeah.
Ironically, that would be dope. Anyway, make sure it's in the feedback in the asset request site, please, if you have time. That'd be great.
That guy Baldrix asks, "Are you going to make Bug Month a more regular thing? You hit some good ones in the last month."
Thank you. That was
Yeah,
really
you
cool. We have to build features. Like that's the thing. Whenever we're doing something, we're letting someone else down. So now I want to do like some features, some small, some big, but absolutely we will be. I can't say it'll be more regular, but they will be coming back. I know one of the kind of months I want to do will be a performance month where I just like this is all I do is make shit faster. That'll be really cool. Yeah, I love it. I love focusing on something for a month like that. It just feels good. You can just.
Dylan Type X asks, since water/fluid dynamics are out, how about animated fluid tiles for rivers, waterfalls, oozes, and lava?
Probably less tiles. The things we're looking for the terrain system would be better.
Yes, the current water tiles are an experiment.
People, yeah, they're a stand-in because we don't have what we need to have, and so that's why they're there. That's why they're temp. Even though you get the folks like Buldrax who do amazing terrains, we don't. The thing that we're envisaging is not tile terrain, and so yeah. But it's very complementary.
Animated oozes would be cool. Animated like a gelatinous cube, like just that. It's just like. Oh man, I mean, of course, that would be awesome. Yeah, I don't.
The problem is now in my head I'm seeing like Quake 1 scrolling textures, like it would just feel
Lucy
where's my Quake mod?
Asks thoughts on boards based around airships or flying assets.
They are cool.
Yeah. Okay. So, 100%, man. Airships. So we have the we have the pirate ship right now, or like the ship tile set. Again, when we get into subboards, I would really like to make kind of or experiment with some pieces to kind of build out ships. In spaceships and flying assets and stuff like that, more wings, more things, stuff like that, to see just how it would, instead of just bulky tiles that you're trying to kind of that look like a hot dog.
I'd love to. I'd love us to do another spaceship exterior set.
Yeah.
Because there's some lovely classic designs that we could pull into as well. Oh yeah, cool. Dylan again.
Dylan Type X asks, what are the odds of tile modding or animated textures on minis?
Tiles and props will come. Absolutely is going to happen. I've been saying like, I need to get. I was thinking this just the other day because I was rewatching some of the stuff we've said to make sure I'm like being consistent. But yeah, tile modding. I'm like, we can't do tile modding until we've got the scripting system Spaghetti ready. I'm like, wait a second, we don't need to wait for that. We could. There's a lot of tiles and props which are just static, so we could start tile and prop modding before then without that. So yeah, I've got some things to decide there, but yeah, that 100% coming. Animated textures, absolutely not. On minis, no, and animated minis in general, no, because it changes the skill floor and just like the consistency. There's some stuff there that just doesn't work. There are the unofficial mods for things that are outside our scope, though, so do check out them.
Okay. Tabletop RPG Music asks, apologize if this has already been asked, what might a future Fog of War look like? Plans for an option to basically just hide any tiles/props that are not in line of sight, rather than rendering an actual fog over stuff.
So, these are great questions. I love this. So, the first thing I want to do for a nearer term vision system, so not proper Fog of War, is just like, hey, what if we only render the stuff that's within a vision range of your different characters? So everyone in the party has a range, and we only render the stuff that you can see within your party. GM would obviously be able to see everything, but it will be highlighted in some way that made sense. That will allow dark vision, allow for much better dungeon crawls. The problem is, of course, that because it's not a proper line of sight based system, like if there is a hidden tunnel behind a wall, then that's going to be visible because you'll be able to see like the distance beyond the wall. Hiding tiles is tricky because people build with tiles how they want to build with them. So if you have, like, say the secret tunnel, if you have a wall like this, some people will build, it's not very clear with my hands, but just the hand part. This is the floor, this is the wall. Some people will face the floor into the room, but others might face it out of the room for stylistic reasons. Now, when you show this whole tile, you then see this floor as well, which means now you're revealing something outside of the room that you shouldn't be seeing. And then people are drawn to the kind of question of like, well, am I seeing that because these are the limitations of tiles, or am I seeing that because there's something there? And you can lead people down the wrong path when they should be focusing on their story, right? So actually having a fog over stuff has its advantages because it cuts at the line of vision. So what I want to do is, we already have to render the scene from all the positions of your party's minis to work out line of sight. With that information, we have a depth, like a distance in all directions to the nearest obstacle. So we can do something there with fog, like drawing things that are inside those ranges. And then it's how you connect those things together. It's the whole problem with Fog of War. I can dive into that more technically another day when we have more time. But yes, look like. I mean, I will be the one who gets it to. Here is the mesh / distance field / whatever representation that says here is where people can see, and then someone like Johnny or Jason will be the ones who come in and like make it technically look not like butts. So yeah.
Dylan asks, is there a plan for rolling dice that aren't physically represented in Tailspire, like D2s or D36s?
Well, dice modding would definitely answer that. I don't think we have any plans for those two specifically right now. Aren't physically represented. So when I see physically represented, I hear not rolling onto the board. But then because you mentioned those two, it's like, I think you're saying just things that we don't have right now. Then I would say if we don't have them, dice modding down the line. I've got a bunch of details to work out with that, because do we allow you to make loaded dice? How do we know that these dice are physically valid? It's interesting. Yeah, we'll ask more as I develop the dice system, please.
Melody Vidi Logo asks, since we can't always make a Tailspire map for everything the players decide to do, like go kill a random innocent bear in the woods, could there be some kind of transition screen between maps to do things outside of Tailspire maps, like just putting an image and music and text chat instead of always needing to be on a map?
I don't know. Like, we need to be able to do image sharing and things like that, and our chat system needs a lot of love. The music, obviously, we have music available. We need to expand that system, but yeah, that's hard because I don't know. I really don't know. That's like doing theater of the mind stuff is an entire tool set. Like, is it Alchemy that focuses on that?
I think so.
The Alchemy VTT.
Yes.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
We in the past we've chatted to some of those folks just on what they're doing, because they do really cool stuff. It's lovely. Their scene is actually really cool. It's lovely to chat to people. Yeah, it's like there's a whole. Nothing is trivial. Nothing is trivial, and so the amount of effort they go into doing something to help you with a game where you're just imagining stuff is stunning. It's really cool. Check them out. So sorry, I don't have any more to add.
Some of the community members suggested little kind of camp maps, city map, camp map, kind of like a holding area, waiting room, and to which they responded, a dedicated waiting screen could, in my mind, focus in on the story a bit more rather than just the players being on a random map.
We love boards. So we have talked about the idea of a lobby board where you land, instead of coming in straight to a board, people land on a lobby board, which is kind of a fixed area. And then the GM summons you to where you need to be. I'm not sure if that space, by virtue of being a board, would then be too distracting from that, or if the fact that it is always common, is always the same, would make it enough of a kind of neutral space that people would be able to relax into their imaginations enough. It's a really interesting point. With tile modding, again, we have thoughts on making a world map tiles, so you can build things with that. I'm not sure. There's a lot of questions there, because doing that right needs. For us to make ourselves happy with that, we would have to do that right. And so we would have to decide what that would need to be. But with tile and prop modding, someone else could come in and show us what that could be, right? So I think that might end up coming with some of the answers before we even get to it. So yeah, watch that space. That's a really good question.
Tabletop RPG Music asks, any plans for hide volumes to automatically reveal themselves when player token enters, so the GM doesn't have to manage them?
I honestly haven't don't think I've put any real time into thinking about that, but I'm not entirely against it. It would be interesting. It would be little things to decide, like if you just waggle your mini around violently in space, do we reveal all the hide volumes? Probably not. It's probably when you actually let them go and they land somewhere that boom. But then if you're placing in a place without tiles, your mini would drop. So we'd need to there's a few things to decide there. But we should play test it.
I'll tack onto this with a personal bit, which HypnoTwist actually just brought up. Wish there was a way to reveal multiple volumes at once via like linking the hide volumes.
Yeah, like when I see linking hide volumes, I think, wow, our hide volumes aren't good enough. Not like we need to make hide volumes more complicated. It's like we need to let you make arbitrary shaped hide volumes. And we've done a little work with, like, obviously for the selection tool. Are we still like? I've got a thing over like. That's right. Because we've got this. Like, this is a tool that allows you to draw arbitrary shapes. And if we could do that and then raise it up vertically and use that as a hide volume, that would be cool. But then we've got the question of when is a point within an arbitrary polygon? So there's a lot of questions there. But we can. That is something we could potentially think about. I would love to say to you that like hide volumes are like high up on the list of things we need to do. Unfortunately, they're not right now. Not above getting a decent dice system. And why am I blanking on the other big thing that we were doing? Like, there's the emote stuff, which is kind of side vision system. I think that like the clamor for a vision system is so critical that we need to get something there. Yeah, that's what my head is at for the big two. But yeah, hide volumes do need love. So many things need love.
Yep. Well,
we'll still be
here.
here.
Have any hide volumes idea? Put them on the feature request site so we can make.
Yeah,
sure
there have been some good ones. Yeah, make sure they don't get lost. But there are some good ones on there already.
Mm-hmm. That guy Baldrex comes in with a bit of a clarification or an idea on locking the height slider. Perhaps a zone control of the slider would work better. Sort of like a hide volume, but viewer settings for that area.
Yeah, it's interesting because like pins like have some kind of functionality around the idea of a localized setting. But no, I hear you. I don't know. There is definitely an answer to part of the question in what you're saying, and whether it's the one we'd go for, I don't know. We'll see.
Dylan Type X asks, is it possible to rotate the orthographic camera or get more height out of it? I find it restrictive when trying to make battle reports, etc.
Ooh, that's cool. Get more height out of it. I think we should be able to get more height out of it. I can't think of a reason. There might be a range limit there. The orthographic is kind of interesting because orthographic gets really funky. So it's actually a really distant, really violently constrained parallel camera, but you wouldn't be able to tell most of the time. But yeah, no, I can look into it. Definitely report that. That sounds like a bug. Well, no, I suppose it is a feature request. But yeah, definitely report it because that sounds like something we can at least look into quickly when we get to it.
Dylan the Cripple asks, with the re-rise of Fallout, is there any chance that it would be possible to get elements or buildings that mimic the area of the 1950s?
I mean, yeah, we could technically build packs with that kind of vibe. We haven't got anything on our roadmap for that right now. But like, I mean, it would look cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sticking in the asset requests, and that's something we don't want to forget about, because we also want to do stuff that would be good for kind of Call of Cthulhu and things like that. So eras and styles that you guys are interested in, absolutely. Yeah, just slap it in the asset request.
And we've got a lot of some expansion to do on the modern things, and obviously with Shogun coming, the Shogun set, then we can have some things we'll need to expand there. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
And our final question for the day, from Dylan Type X, is it possible to get more skies besides the space, normal, green haze, and darkness? Maybe mod in our own. Dude. Or the ability to hide the ground for scenes set in the bottomless ocean or sky.
Oh, nice.
Technically, yeah. Go for it, Jess. That's great.
Well, no, I mean, I'm on his side. I want more skies.
Yeah, then
I want cool purple, like, yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. I just, we need more skies, more stuff like that. We need to have it.
Yeah. I like the sound of it. I'm not the man to make it, but when he's more around, it can go on the roadmap. We will.
Yeah,
we'll have
it's
to chat
kind of like
about that.
Johnny's.
I don't know if. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if there's any kind of like. I haven't heard of any plans for like deeper systems around Sky, so it might be that it's a simpler task. I'm not sure. Again, like you say, the hiding of ground for like bottomless seas is also interesting. Like there's some cool tools there.
Okay.
I saw someone saying, "What is the Tailspire team size?" We are 8 folks in total, 4 full time, and 4 varying between once in a blue moon when they have time and like half time. So we're a tight little team.
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of our Q&A session and the end of another successful Bouncyrock bi-monthly banter. Is there any parting words that either of you two would like to share?
Just thank you to the Tailspire moderators on the Discord. You guys, as always, kick ass. Thank you so much. And thank you to the community. Of course. You guys as well kick ass.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like it is nice to be doing this I'd say every day. Like there's gonna be days that are rougher than others, but it is so cool. Like especially going into show and tell is super motivating. Every time I open the community browsers in the game, and it's just like, wow, there is so much happening here. It's rad. We got a lot to build, but we're like, you're stuck with us for a while, so it's going to be good. And thanks for coming and hanging out. This is like just
I know, I love it.
hairy guys rambling about stuff. So this is it's lovely that you're down here. Keep chatting to us on the Discords and other like devlogs and places. I'm trying to keep the devlogs up a bit more again. I keep saying that every time I have a lapse. I'm not really good at structure, but we're going for it. I don't know. We could just keep on rambling about how you people are cool. So we'll stop and see you elsewhere.
Our next planned stream is going to be August 9th. Again, every 2 months we do this. So hopefully we'll be back then, unless something happens. And if something happens, we'll tell you all on our socials. So keep an eye out there. Keep an eye out in Discord. We'll see you folks later.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you again.
See you, folks. Ta-da.